Human Population by NRios. There is no better way to examine the relationship that humans have with nature other than to measure the magnitude of humans' very existence with nature. Human population has threatened Earth's environment for years. Eco-biocentrism is the belief that environmental needs are superior to those of humans. This page shows a history of ethical concerns of human population and sort of what the population was beginning from 3 million years ago up to 1927 when the human population had reached 2 billion. Today, the global population is 7.7 billion, and it's expected to be 11 billion by the year 2100. This is a graph showing the global population from 1990 up to what it's expected to be in 2030, 2050, and then 2100. So between 500 and 1300 AD, the Pueblo Indians, or the southwestern Native Americans, lived in the southwestern region of America, and their population reached 40,000, which was a very massive population for that time. They struggled to support this population with food scarcity and other environmental and climatic changes that were going on at the time. And this eventually their overpopulation led to the extinction of their kind in that area. So we can all learn about the consequences of overpopulation from these ancient Pueblo Indians. This is a picture that depicts what their village would have looked like in 1300 AD. Early philosophical views in the 5th century BC. A great city is not to be confounded with a populous one. Aristotle. So, in the 5th century BC, human population had reached 200 million, which was a very large amount for Earth at that time. And famous philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle became very concerned with this massive population. Plato defined an optimum population regarding space and resources available and described the modes of social organization and functioning required to achieve it. And Aristotle shared much of the same views as Plato did when it came to human population. Both understood that large populations could lead to a large number of people living in poverty and eventually an uprising. And so these philosophers were not only concerned with environmental catastrophes that could happen, they were also very concerned with the social impact it would have on humans themselves. Today, 80% of the world is living on less than $10 a day. So basically what these early philosophers predicted would happen. $10 a day is not very much to survive in the world that we live in today. And half of all children alive are malnourished and living in poverty. So basically every second child is suffering. Anthropocentrism. This puts human needs and concerns above that of environmental concerns. So, believing that humans are superior to all other species on the planet is within the realm of anthropocentrism, and yet so is the belief that human welfare should be used as motivation for the protection of the environment. A lot of people don't realize that even though they have every intention to protect the environment, if it's being done for the well-being of humans, it is still an anthropocentric view and sort of attitude about why they are protecting the environment. This is a bulleted list of the problems that half of humanity is facing because of overpopulation and the scarcity of resources. A real-world anthropocentric approach to overpopulation. So China has a massive population, and they have an economy that is just booming every year. This economic gain has caused a lot of environmental problems, to the point that in 1972, at a UN conference, the world brought it to China's attention that they were causing environmental issues for themselves and the rest of the world. So, in a response to that, China's very powerful government made it a law to force China's ethnic Han majority to only have one child. In Chinese culture, a lot of families prefer to have a son over a daughter, and this led to a lot of baby girls being abandoned or given up for adoption or put into orphanages or even slaughtered in some cases. I'm sure that perhaps the Chinese government foresaw that this would cause an unbalanced population and problems for Chinese population, but I'm sure that the families of these boys that were being born did not know that this would lead to problems for their sons down the line, and that their sons would never be able to marry because of the unbalanced population.
In absolute numbers, there are 33 million more men than women in China today. The gender imbalance in China is most severe in rural farmlands, as women in these villages travel out to cities in search of husbands. And that has led to the emergence of, quote, bachelor villages across the country. In Xishan, a city in Shanghai.
So if you want to find the rest of this video, which just sort of goes into the hardships that Chinese men are facing, you can go to YouTube and look into China's Leftover Men. The anthropocentric versus the biocentric mindset. So eco-biocentrism and anthropocentrism are inseparable, because even though eco-biocentrism essentially argues that environmental needs come first and anthropocentrism argues that human needs come first, it is ultimately a human necessity to have access to a healthy and thriving environment, and therefore ensuring a sustainable way of life that benefits both humans and the environment, and that's essential. Jackie Cason is a philosopher. She would not have agreed with the Chinese government limiting China's Han ethnic population to only having one child. She believed that humans must want to make a difference on their own, and that humans must adopt a social movement in order to control human population. NRios was the father of deep ecology. He believed that human mindsets needed to shift from man is his environment to man connected to nature. We must be aware that we do not only interact with the ecosystem, but that we are a part of it. Whatever harm we do to the delicate and fragile balance of life, we do to ourselves. We are a tiny portion of a whole. NRios. And his views were very popular and still are today. The flourishing of human life and cultures is compatible with a substantial decrease of human population. The flourishing of non-human life requires such a decrease. NRios. It is evident that without the support of nature, humans cannot survive on Earth. We cannot go against this law and continue to exploit resources and cause degradation of other living organisms and the environment. We must learn to coexist, or we will continue to face the horrific consequences of our overconsumption and degradation. If there is one thing that is clear, it is that humans are a part of Earth. And just a Bill Nye quote here for you.